NVIDIA's CEO has never posted on X. This week, he finally did, to share a letter signed by 25 companies, warning Washington against a policy mistake. It landed days after the White House accused a Chinese AI lab of stealing an American model. This video connects both stories. First, the letter itself, what it says, and who signed it. July 24th, Jensen Huang posts a letter titled "Open Weights and American AI Leadership." Within hours, it's been viewed millions of times, an unusual reach for a corporate policy letter. 25 organizations signed. Not just NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta, IBM, Dell, Palantir, Hugging Face, Mistral, Mozilla, and Y Combinator, among others, spanning nearly every layer of the AI industry. That is an unusually wide coalition. Chipmakers, cloud giants, defense-adjacent firms, and open-source nonprofits, all signing the same page on the same day. The letter's core claim, in its own words, openness may be one of the most important paths to AI safety, because relying solely on closed models is not inherently safe. That is a genuinely contrarian claim. Most policy instincts treat open models as the risk. This letter argues the opposite, and it is signed by the industry, not just academics. Second, why this letter landed this exact week, not some other week. July 16th, Moonshot AI, a Chinese lab, releases Kimi K3, a 2.8 trillion parameter model that ranks among the most capable in the world. Days later, White House official Michael Kratsios makes a direct accusation. Moonshot distilled Anthropic's own Fable model to help build Kimi K3, calling it a sophisticated effort to avoid detection. Distillation itself is not exotic. It's a routine technique used across the industry. The dispute here is narrower, whether this specific use of it crossed a line. Kratsios added a second claim. Moonshot acquired NVIDIA GB300 chips and routed training workloads through servers in Thailand, allegedly violating both U.S. export controls and the chipmaker's own terms of service. 4 days before the letter, the administration was already reported to be reviving a push to ban Chinese open-weight models entirely, not just restrict this one company. That timing is not a coincidence. The letter reads like a direct response to a specific, live policy threat, not a general statement of principle. Third, who actually signed this letter and who conspicuously did not. The signers cut across the industry, infrastructure providers, model makers, application companies, and open-source institutions, each with its own stake in keeping the ecosystem open. 3 names are missing from those 25: OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google. The 3 companies that lead with closed, proprietary frontier models and would arguably benefit most from restrictions on open ones. OpenAI's Sam Altman didn't sign, but he did react, sharing Huang's post and writing, "I want the US to win in AI both in open source and proprietary models, and I am glad to see this." Anthropic stayed quieter. It's worth noting, Fable, the model Moonshot is accused of distilling, is Anthropic's own, giving Anthropic a direct personal stake in exactly the practice this letter is defending. David Sachs, the former White House AI and crypto czar, went further, arguing that leading closed labs want the government to eliminate their open-source competition, not just outcompete it fairly in the market. Finally, what this fight is actually deciding, underneath all the statements. Replit's CEO Amjad Masad put it bluntly, banning Chinese open models is as good as banning open models in general, because it's one ecosystem. The letter draws its own careful line: distillation is legitimate model building. Unlawful extraction from closed models is not and should be handled with targeted legal tools, not a blanket ban. That line is the whole letter's purpose. Kratsios's accusation blurred distillation and theft together. This letter exists specifically to pull those 2 ideas back apart. Whoever writes the rule on distillation writes the rule on who gets to compete. That is the real prize here, and it's still being decided in Washington, not on X.